reaction this morning to President Donald Trump's executive order that bans federal use of paper straws. The executive order states federal agencies should stop using paper straws and they will no longer be provided within agency buildings.
The change targets a Biden administration effort to phase out single-use plastics by 2035. Federal government is the biggest buyer of straws and purchases more than any other group in the U.S. So how is this going to affect you? Our Angie Andrews is joining us live from Paso Roble Beach this morning to break that down. Angie, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Georgia and Roy. We know that big part in that push for paper straws over the last number of years has been to keep plastics out of the waterways, but it has been a tough sell in some communities. We know in the city of St. Pete, they moved to ban plastic straws in all of the bars and restaurants there in the area. But when it comes to the different beachside cities here in Pinellas County, it really just matters where you go. There's some different regulations for different cities, but for the most part, it's a voluntary ban, or there's no solid restrictions when it comes to this stuff in this area at all. Now, we spoke to the owner of a bar supply company who says he really just wasn't surprised to see President Trump move in this direction. And that's because he says in his experience for his customers, it all comes down to the bottom line.
I have 3 pallets of marine biological straws that I can't sell. Nobody wants to pay the price.
Robert Fredette, the chief sales officer with BarSupply.com, says his job is to give the 1,500 local bars, restaurants, and hotels the products that they need to run their businesses efficiently. He says from Homosassa to Sarasota, he has just one customer who buys paper straws on a usual basis, and it all comes back to price. Fredette says the 6-inch fat straws are his biggest seller because they last and encourage customers to drink faster. A box of 500 goes for about $3.50, while the paper straws, which need to be replaced after every drink, are 100 for $3. He says over the last few years, he's had multiple customers request more eco-friendly products until they saw the price.
I've known a few places in St. Pete that were fined for using plastic straws. But, you know, most of the people took the chance because the cost of the straw, the savings they would get in a year's time was nothing compared to the fine. So, I mean, I know it's good for the environment, but you gotta, when you're talking small businesses, they're trying to operate and compete with the chain or franchised restaurants, they gotta cut their costs anywhere they can.
Now, environmental group Oceana is critical of the move, calling the order more about messaging than finding solutions. And in a statement wrote, President Trump is headed in the wrong direction on single-use plastics. The president's executive order on plastics spells trouble for our oceans, health, and communities. Plastic is everywhere. It's choking our oceans, sitting at the deepest point of the seafloor and raining in our national parks. Then goes on to say that President Trump should be making the U.S. a global leader in addressing the plastics crisis at the source by reducing the production in single-use plastics and also moving to reuse and refill systems. Now, to be clear, this executive order, it does not affect any of the local regulations. Of course, that remains up to the separate municipalities here, but it affects things like those national parks and also any federal buildings as well. Georgia, right? Back to you both.
All right, Angie.